is the idea of kind of making data-driven decisions. And I'll give you an example, Jason. Historically, when companies do 360 reviews, 90-day review, we're not in the belief that management should force down a tool down their organization. There's a lot of pushback. If you allow employees to have buy-in, to make it a seamless part of their workday.
Welcome to The Staffing Ring, the podcast where the gloves come off and we go deep into the recruitment industry's best practices and tactics. We aim to bring you actionable insights for how staffing and recruiting agencies are winning today. This production is brought to you by Ringover, the leading staffing communication platform connected to your ATS and CRM, empowering conversations for your recruiters.
Welcome to another episode of the Staffing Ring podcast. I'm your host, Jason Lawson. I'm super excited for today's episode. Our guest today is Sam Naficy. Sam is a serial entrepreneur with a strong passion for the disruptive technology, and particularly where he can transform industries through innovation. Sam has been with ProdeScore for 4 years, initially serving as board member before stepping into the role as CEO. Prior to ProdeScore, Sam was the chairman and CEO of DTIQ, formerly DTT, where he led it to acquisition by Cisco, and it later became a leading provider of digital business innovation solutions and software for restaurants, convenience stores, and retailers. So incredible depth of experience, and taking the helm of ProdeScore, I think is going to deliver incredible insights and results for their customers. So welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. We are going to, in the spirit of the staffing ring, we jump in the ring and we start, gloves up, hands up, and we go straight into the challenges. Who's the enemy? Who's the opposition for staffing companies, and what are the challenges in the market? So, first question, speaking to staffing agencies, prospects, customers, what are you seeing as kind of the market forces that they should really be aware of in today's environment?
It's a good question, Jason. And I come from a perspective of being a supplier. I'm a CEO of a supplier to the staffing agency. So my breadth and scope of understanding the space and this vertical is from that perspective. So the fortunate thing is we do have a lot of data around employee engagement, employee analytics. And I'd say the 2 or 3 areas that we see kind of flags. One is clearly the burnout area and employee engagement. That's one area that we're seeing, they're being overworked potentially, and the staffing has been reduced. So I think that's part of the issue. There was a survey I saw that I think it was 60 or 65% of employees said they feel overworked. And that leads directly to a decrease in productivity that we've seen, and certainly higher turnover. So that's a big area. I think another area when I speak to CEOs that are running staffing firms is about mental health. And when they are overworked and overwhelmed, does it lead to a mental health issue? How do we address that? How do we provide them some flexibility at work to relieve the burdens that overwork potentially could bring? And the third area that's more broad, not necessarily staffing related, but broadly, is economic uncertainty. I think there are a lot of unknowns in the economy, potentially a slowdown. We saw the job numbers last week. So I think that's an area that all of us are thinking about what the next 12, 18 months look like.
Yeah, it certainly is, no doubt, a very challenging environment. And I think, a lot of agency leaders are very aware of that and cognizant of, staff turnover, recruiter, mental health, and certainly it's been a big change from 2021, 2022. When you think about those challenges, where do you see kind of the risks for agency leaders to kind of not be fully aware of how to manage, or how to really see the signals or have the data to help them kind of manage and support their teams?
Yeah, I think that's what tools like ProdeScore come into play, by us being able to highlight, for example, what I gave as an example in question number 1 regarding employee burnout, employee engagement, our tool provides real-time analytics around that. And being able to show management what employees are potentially burning out, overburdened, and overworked, what can we do? Because the prolonged impact of being overworked and overwhelmed permeates through the organization. It's not just that one individual who's feeling overworked. It permeates to their colleagues, and most importantly, permeates to client relationships, engagement with the clients, and being an efficient party to them, counterparty to them. So I think that those are really critical issues of addressing it earlier, not leading to attrition. One of the things that all of us are trying to do is retain our quality talent. And you don't want them to be burning out and attriting when we're all scrambling to keep the quality talent we already have.
Right, and you know the benefit of having a tool like ProdeScore is, like you've just mentioned, you're having those early signals to make informed decisions and actually take some proactive measures. You know, given I'm just curious, given that even some of the better or best recruiters at the moment are struggling to get the placements and the fees in the business, how do you see or feel that some of these may be a little bit, wanting to kind of protect themselves and not be kind of too much in the eye of the data or eye of the analysis in terms of their performance, and so some of the performance is actually externalities. The market is tough; it's not their actual individual performance per se. So how do you think about leaders balancing those things out?
Look, it's historically been a very data-driven vertical. The staffing agency is very metricized, and we are adding a higher level of data analytics overarching all of the cloud tools they currently use. So they use email, telephony, chat, Slack, an applicant tracking system, an ATS. So they're already capturing all these data points for their staff. All we're doing is we're capturing the data, we're putting it in a real-time dashboard, using AI, machine learning, large language models to provide next indicated action. So in the example of the overworked employee that may be burning out, we can be a leading indicator. And far before they quit in 90 days because they're burning out, give the manager or the executive suite a flag. Hey, Sam seems burnt out. Give him a couple of days off. Have a conversation with him. Bring some help to Sam. Maybe you could bring another person who could help him. That way you alleviate the inevitable burnout or potential attrition by using a leading indicator like ProdeScore.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into round 2, which is the strategies and tactics to win, and even in a challenging market. And we're recording this in the middle of 2024. Most sectors are challenging. There's no doubt that many agencies will flourish in the coming 6 or 12 months. I think for many, they are thinking about what are the right tools, what are the right approaches. Are you seeing kind of any more unconventional ways to use the data or the insights, or what are some of the best practices for agency leaders to really make sure they're setting the right platform of people, process, and technologies?
Right. So look, I'll talk about 2 things here that one of them just got triggered in my mind. But I'm a big believer, and I think a lot of the C-suite in staffing is the idea of kind of making data-driven decisions. And I'll give you an example, Jason. Historically, when companies do 360 reviews, 90-day review, semi-annual, annual reviews, they've always been very subjective. If I like the person I'm talking to, if I had a dinner with them last night, they get a 5, they get a promotion, they get a raise. What we're trying to do, and a tool like Prodoscore, it makes that review very objective. So it makes that decision of the raise, the promotion, or the bonus directly correlated with data. So I think that's an area that tools could be used where historically they've been mostly subjective, bring it on to a more objective format. The second one was just triggered in me when I said, as you were asking the question, is around AI and automation. And I think it's such a buzzword right now, AI. And two parts of AI that are critical. One is AI does not function or does not work with any efficacy if you don't have a large swath of data. We're fortunate to capture an enormous amount of data that makes us subject matter experts within our niche category of staff. So we know the industry well. And I say this to management all the time. Use AI as an adjunct to help your employees, not necessarily to replace them. You could handle a lot of things in AI, but if it's used conjunctively with your staff, make their roles easier, let them perform better. When they do, there's less stress on them and potentially better outcomes for the company.
Yeah, I think it's that complementary, human and machine is where, certainly, the adage at the moment is, AI is not going to replace your role. It's another person who uses and leverages AI and automation, because I think automation is one of the initial steps a lot of agencies can take with AI. And also, tools like Ringover, where, and curious with ProdeScore too, is the adoption and engagement in the suite that staffing agencies do provide their recruiters. And I think, again, those recruiters that really do embrace and use the technology, in their role on a day-to-day basis, whether it's business development, whether it's working with the ATS, making sure it's rich of data, can actually then, it's a loop of insights that then can help them in their own role and performance. Right, and as we kind of talk about AI, and it's certainly again a hot topic. There is a massive challenge for agency leaders to both embrace the power of the technology, but also maintain kind of like a unique and valuable service to clients. Right, if every agency is bringing on a subset of AI tools, they may all start to kind of look and feel the same from a client perspective. So how do you think agency leaders should kind of embrace the technology, data-driven, but also, be able to stand out when they're talking to candidates and clients?
Yeah, look, I was personally talking to a staffing CEO earlier this week, and she mentioned that they're looking to implement AI tools to streamline initial candidate assessments. So that kind of facilitates that onboarding and maintaining that personal interaction with the employee, but you use AI as an adjunct tool to help that process and streamline it. That was really interesting to me. It was a novel approach, and I like, wow, that if they could work that collaboratively, use AI for the initial candidate assessment while having their staff take the next steps, it's an interesting win-win for both parties.
Right, yes. So it's really allowing the recruiters to spend more time on the high-value, sort of high-touch parts of their job and help kind of automate and build AI around some of the more administrative parts of the role, which again is another great segue into round 3, where we kind of delve more deep into the product innovations and specifically around kind of the marketplace around the ATS CRMs that both ProdeScore and Ringover work very closely with. In terms of I do hear and see a lot of staffing agencies, and certainly through 2021, 2022, they did bring on a lot of new technology, and some of it was not well adopted. Some of it didn't integrate well into their existing kind of technology stack. How do you see clients taking on Prodoscore and thinking about the overall technology environment to help, whether it be data lake, data warehouse, how are you thinking about the best ways that they embrace and onboard technologies like ProdeScore?
Yeah, look, Jason, I think it's a really important question. And for us at ProdeScore, and I hope it's broadly defined by others, is really being employee-centric. So we're not in the belief that management should force down a tool down their organization with a lot of pushback. If you allow employees to have buy-in, to make it a seamless part of their workday, then not only do you have tool adoption, because the company's spending money on these tools, make sure the employees are in it and enjoying the benefits it gets out. So for example, in ProdeScore, I can speak definitively about, we are very employee-centric. And by that I mean is we provide amongst cohorts and peers for you to see how your colleagues are doing. How are they functioning? Hey, Sam is a good performer, but Jason's a great performer. How do we replicate Jason? How could Sam get closer to performing as well as Jason? And we provide analytics around that to allow me, Sam, in this example, to be motivated and look up to a possible growth in approaching Jason. So I think that's an example of how ProdeScore uses its tool to be very employee-friendly, very employee-centric, and allow that kind of growth for colleagues.
Yeah, and it also triggers kind of a thought too in terms of we've spoken about recruiter retention, the churn, which is naturally pretty high in this industry. I think there's also a great opportunity for agency leaders to think about the employer branding to attract new recruiters, right? There's always going to be that top quartile or top 10% or top 1% of recruiters that as an agency leader, you want to attract to your team. So, I'm thinking about having a great tool set, and particularly something like ProdeScore, which is going to help high achievers achieve even more. It is a role that is, very much a revenue, higher income earning potential role. So, have you kind of, how do you think, agency leaders could think more about attracting new talent into their team, through promoting actually the strong tool set and the whole mindset of the business?
No, I look at attracting new talent almost in the same light of retaining great talent. They go hand in hand. And one of the things we do is, and it's really important, because when you have potential attrition or a reduction in force in organizations, we have a part of our of ProdeScore is an area around O&A, organizational network analysis. And CEOs and managers have very little visibility into the connectivity of their staff. So how important is this colleague to the organization? If he's being let go, or he's burnt out and tired, or he's underperforming, just to see the connectivity. So our O&A models by our data science team analyze all of the connections between every employee in the organization, and will tell you if one employee or multiple employees were lost between attrition, they got terminated, they quit, they're burnt out, whatever the scenario, and the impact on the company. A lot of decisions are made in the C-suite without knowing the ripple effect in the organization. And that's really critical for us to know what cog in the wheel are we letting potentially attrit, how important they are besides their revenue. Everybody just looks at performance solely on revenue. But what about the impact on the organization beyond revenue? So I think that area is a very important area to focus on, knowing the importance, connectivity, and kind of just the glue that holds the organization together.
Yeah, I think that's a remarkable, case study of applying, a tool set and data and insights. And certainly whether that's, understanding how that kind of complementary team works and would struggle without a certain individual, and also how they might benefit from having somebody else come into the team that can really help, bolster, and particularly those agencies that are moved away from a 360-degree model where they've got, the business development team and then the kind of sourcing team. How do they kind of, collaborate between, different parts of the kind of client and candidate journey?
Exactly. And Jason, remember one important thing, the idea of hybrid or remote. That's a whole nother area we focus on, of knowing productivity agnostic of geography. And we have definitive numbers and analytics around how you perform in office, how you perform hybrid, how you perform remote.
Yeah, and that is, worth its weight in gold, isn't it, in terms of having those insights and doing it in a way that's not a big brother. It's very much we're working out what's going to be working, what's the optimal mix for the team, for individuals. And so certainly something I'd recommend, the audience taking a look at the ProdeScore and particularly around that hybrid remote support. I think it's a brilliant, feature and benefit of ProdeScore. As we look forward, in terms of innovation, this could either be, ProdeScore's kind of product roadmap, or what are you seeing in terms of the overall marketplace, other technologies or integrations? What's kind of exciting for you in terms of what the next kind of 6 or 12 months will bring?
Yeah, look, I touched on it very briefly earlier, but for us, it's all around large language models and AI in providing our staffing clients indicated actions, next actionable steps. And we're not going to be experts in 20 different verticals, but we are and are learning and are kind of becoming subject matter experts in staffing. Our data is so rich with staffing information that our language models can provide this industry with really, really well-founded, thoughtful, next indicated actions. Again, as an example, what is Jason doing that he's doing so well? How can we replicate Jason? Look, one of the big struggles of management has always been, how do I replicate good employees? We now can provide directed, indicated actions of how Sam can improve to get closer to Jason. And that is a hugely valuable tool that I think in the next quarter, we're probably going to launch this around October. It'll be game-changing for the industry.
Yeah, I can see that already in terms of, what the product offers today, but also as you describe, what's coming. I think it's creating that repeatable, scalable, successful process and approach to recruiting, which, I think gone are the days where, the inbound of roles and the supply demand, that's a fair way to coming back. So I think having a much more repeatable, and best in class kind of method is going to help agencies tremendously. So,
yeah,
fantastic. Right, Sam, we are into round 4, speedball. So we've got some quick fire Q&A to keep us warmed up here. So here we go. Number 1, what would be your walk-on music theme song if you were to enter the ring as you're entering the staffing ring today?
Oh, and it's funny. I'm an immigrant, so it's been a song that I value. Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Probably one of the best, songs. Just it brings so much emotion, doesn't it, in terms of just the energy and
it's a motivating song.
100%. Best movie then, Fight Club or Rocky?
Oh, wow. It has to be Rocky because that was the song.
There you go. Red or blue corner?
Red corner.
Red corner. Okay. Beach or snow?
Oh, beach for sure. I took my kids skiing a couple times. We stopped years ago. Beach.
Okay. I'm with you. I'd take the beach any day. Coffee or tea?
I grew up with tea, but currently coffee.
Right. Nice. Salsa or guacamole?
Oh, a little hot salsa on top of the guacamole.
All right. There we go. So salsa and guacamole. I love it.
Yeah.
Are you a texter or caller?
Depending on who. My kids text. Good luck if they pick up my call.
Right.
But professionally call.
Yeah. Nothing beats a phone call.
Yeah, for sure.
Virtual or in real life? How are you playing that today?
In real life, I like tactile. I like seeing people.
Yeah. Best or breed. This is around software. So best or breed or all in one. I think often the industries shift from one to the other. How are you seeing that at the moment?
Best of breed.
Rustic or modern?
Rustic.
Rustic. E-books or physical books?
Oh, physical books.
All right.
I'm old school. I'm 52.
I think we're on the same page for many of these. Interesting. Yeah, and then we've just got a few Q&A just to kind of expand on some of these questions. So, thinking again about ProdeScore and your amazing history of leadership. I guess maybe going back a few years, what one of the best pieces of advice that you were given that's really helped you in your career?
I say this often, Jason, but mistakes versus regrets. Mistakes are okay. I welcome them, do them, but don't have regrets. And the defining distinction between the two is regrets are indecision. You're at a fork in the road, you're indecisive and incapable of making a decision. Horrible. Make a decision, even if it's a mistake, learn from it and move on.
Yeah, that's a big one. Nothing more I can add to that. That's definitely one for the books. Speaking of books, do you have a book you would recommend, a classic or one that you're reading recently?
Yeah, it's not a classic, but I've just been reading in the last month or so Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. I've gotten into his cooking shows, so I picked up his book.
Yeah, okay. Sounds amazing. I've not had a chance to read that, but certainly take note. I love cooking and travel, so I think
that's why I do it. Exactly.
And a podcast. Are you a podcast listener? I
certainly listen to All In. So Chamaths and Jason Calacanis and those guys. It's a great podcast.
There's a top one on my playlist as well. All In. I'll drop it in the show notes for those that have not come across that, but certainly, totally agree. Highly recommend. And any new or favorite app that you're kind of always on or often on?
Yeah, I forgot the name of the app. I'll tell you right now, but I got a Father's Day gift of this scale. So I've got into health and being careful with my diet. So my kids gave me a scale that's connected to this app called VE-Sync. And you stand on the scale, and not only does it give your weight, but your body mass index, fat level, your heart rate. It's got 40 different things. And I do it in the mornings and at night, and it has graphs and charts. It's pretty crazy. It's a little too much, clearly, but I've got into it in the last couple of months.
Yeah. No, I think, again, technology can be a wonder in terms of both work and personal. I think, have friends with, the Whoop device and other wearables and scales. I think, that's, again, it's all about being aware. I'm sure if I stepped on your scales, probably all the numbers wouldn't be in the right direction, but at least I'd be aware and be able to understand, okay, I need to take some better care of, my step count or whatever it might be. So, that's a fantastic one. Right, we are cooling down. We're wrapping up. Couple of final questions. Just thinking about the conversation we've had today, Sam. What would be your kind of 2 or 3 key takeaways in terms of what we've spoken about today?
Look, I think we all as leaders should put employee health and wellness at the forefront and look at that, because I think if we care for them and their wellness, it'll permeate through the organization. Our revenues will increase, our retention rates will improve, our customers will be happier. I think making employee-centric decisions is really, really important. Using technology, as we talked about, AI, all that stuff, using it judiciously, using it collaboratively versus in replacing of, but using it with the cohorts of employees. I think those are important. I think also making some generational assessments, right? Different employees at different thresholds of age and where they are in their lives want different things. Maybe the Gen X wants Fridays off. Maybe someone my age doesn't mind working on Fridays, but they want to take Monday afternoons off because they want to go to their kids' volleyball games. Seeing those things and being an employee-centric manager in all industries, I think could be well-founded for all of us.
Absolutely. And just a follow-up question then, really to resonate so highly, and I'm sure it will with our audience. So, as an agency leader, busy job, a lot of stress, and, I'm sure most or all will be, nodding their heads right now as you talk about that. What would be one thing that you would suggest that they do or think about how, approach to actually buy themselves some time to put something in action, or is there something that comes to mind?
I'm smiling as you're asking the question because it's something I struggled with for a long time running this business. But I will tell any of my friends, colleagues, managers, CEOs, give your team part of or all of Friday off. No one works on Fridays, folks. I was so reluctant until I saw the enormity of data in all industries. If you can, take advantage of that opportunity to give time for your employees to take Fridays either partially or holistically off. Wow, that's certainly a big takeaway, and certainly, I've seen a lot of businesses where Friday is, so unproductive, and I think also just giving people the choice, right? If they know they've got a deadline or know they've got some things that they haven't quite got to through the week that's been busy, if they want to spend their Friday or their Friday morning to really just delve into that and complete that piece of work, just gives people more the freedom, and probably, and what you're saying there too is where people might be working, there's no kind of set meetings, so they've actually got some time to actually do some work as well. Exactly. So no, that's brilliant, and feels like we've really got to the pinnacle of a lot of what we've discussed today in terms of really taking action and being really mindful, and also just being led by insights as you've just done to actually make some
sometimes some, tough decisions that might go against, previous kind of
My own
thinking of what.
Jason, I was instinctively like, what are you talking about? We're working 5 days a week. But as the data came in and I saw the reality of what was happening within our own company and then systemically, broadly, I realized it's the right move. But by the way, that's the benefit, that the mental health stuff that I was telling you about. If you are to give them half of Friday off, Friday we finish at noon local time, whatever time zone you're in, that's a huge benefit. And all I ask of you is, if you're a little busier on a Tuesday, give me a half hour more. Be flexible in that regard. If you've got a kid's baseball game, go watch your kid play. It becomes rewarding both bilaterally, both to the company and the employee.
100%. And people feel more accountable to, both as well, both their own well-being and understanding they've been treated as adults and they will repay that, in their good work. So, Sam, this has been incredible, actually. We've had a lot of super interesting, thoughts about staffing, but also more broadly about people, which, at the end of the day, staffing industry is very much a people-centric business. And I think it's that holistic and mindful approach that, a lot of leaders are, thinking about how to kind of adopt more and more. So really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Staffing Room podcast. It was a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure our audience have gained a massive amount of benefit and understanding of Prodeus and how you are leading the business.
Well, I appreciate having me, Jason. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed this, so thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you again. Right, everyone, that's a wrap. Thank you again for listening to the Staffing podcast, and we look forward to joining you for another episode.
This production is brought to you by Ringover. If you're a staffing or recruiting agency wanting to improve and scale your client business development or candidate engagement, and you want to learn about the very best communication tools and tactics, you can find out more information by visiting ringover.com. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. And if you enjoyed this episode today, please leave us a 5-star rating. Thank you for listening to The Staffing Ring, and we'll see you in the next episode.